Hey, word on the street is your binoculars are from 1976. Do you want some cool ones from Vortex? Yeah, you do. Like, comment, subscribe. We're giving them away every single month of the season. So if you like, comment, and subscribe, you're entered. Who doesn't like free stuff? Like, comment. I can't do that. That's too That's too That's too The best food plot blend for 2025. Guys, we've tried dozens and dozens and dozens of blends, guys. And at the end of the day, like, everybody's leaning on this late summertime to plant food plots. I think we should all be putting in spring crops, but we're here. We're at this time. If you don't have anything in the dirt, this is what I would recommend to you. I'm going to give you an option A, and I'm going to actually give you an option B. God forbid, you know, the initial planting of this first crop doesn't go well. But my personal favorite now, after testing blends for a couple years, has to do with overall forage. And why is that? Because the more forage we have, the more food we have throughout the entire season. It also comes down to diversity. The more diverse of a blend that I put out there, the more palatable that the food can be during every single step of the season. If you want to have an opportunity at killing a big buck every single step of the season, guys, you have to have a palatable food source that is there every single step of the season, so that he has a reason to come to that food plot, right? So those are like the main things that I'm looking for. You know, to a certain extent. I'm also looking for what grows well, what grows fast, what's resilient. And that's where I'm coming up with an option B, just in case, you know, this option A is not resilient enough, you'll have a backup plan. For me, guys, it's all about planting Bombshell from Domain. The reason that I would plant Bombshell from Domain is because it has Ethiopian cabbage in it and some other hybrids that will basically create more tonnage above ground than they will below ground. Now, if you talk about a green blend nowadays with anybody in conversation, you'll talk about radishes and turnips, right? And we can make an argument as to why those are good things to plant when it comes to maybe like putting some organic matter back in the soil and XYZ, and that's not wrong. But when it strictly comes down to like, okay, my soil is ready to rock, I've been taking care of it for years, now I'm ready to take that next step and I want to have a better food plot than my neighbor, I'm probably planting Bombshell, because at the end of the day, this Ethiopian cabbage and some of these other food sources that are in this blend produce more tonnage above ground than they do below ground. Now, very few of you are going to make the argument that, man, they'll eat those radishes and turnips like crazy. Maybe if there's nothing left. And generally, if that is the case, they're eating them in February. Are you hunting in February? I'm not. So I want something that's palatable during the season so that I can kill a buck over it. Now, don't get me wrong, I want to feed my deer in the off season, but there's other ways to do that. If I'm trying to strictly kill a deer on a food plot or have good hunting during the hunting season on my food plots, I'm planting Bombshell, something that's palatable during every single step of the season. So like I said, going back to it, this Ethiopian cabbage and these hybrid brassicas, you're getting mass amounts of tonnage. And I would say probably more with Bombshell than any other blend that Domain offers. You're going to get the most tonnage, which ultimately means you're just going to have food later into the season. And, you know, a lot of times we're not working with big food plots to begin with, guys. Maybe you got an acre, maybe you got less. So if you are going to put in a food plot, you better have something that's going to get you the most food per acre, which is ultimately going to last longer into the season, guys. So that is option A. Okay, I'm going to use Bombshell in any and all of my food plots this year in some way, shape, or form, whether it's over the top of existing clover, chicory, alfalfa, drilled on its own, XYZ. Now let's say we run into some weather issues and, you know, we want to plant this this Bombshell. Planted it once, maybe we planted it twice, but we aren't getting rain. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Now it's time to come up with a plan B, guys, and that's where I think everybody needs to lean on this next product, which is called three-way grains, also from Domain. The nice thing about three-way grains, oats, wheat, rye, it is like the ultimate, like, kind of to a certain extent throw and grow. Resilient food plot that is going to give you something, okay? And it's going to produce a lot of organic matter later on as well, which is maybe not your top priority, even though maybe it should be. But at the end of the day, the shit's going to grow. That's what it comes down to, guys. And it's a backup plan. And when I say a backup plan, that means you've planted the first week of August, second week of August, third week of August, whatever you did. And you're like, okay, now it's getting to be September. I should be getting in a stand in 2 weeks and I don't have a food plot. Now is time to layer on the rye, wheat, and oats, the three-way grains from Domain. How much should you put down? Enough. This is one of those things that, like a perennial blend, you can really not overseed it to a certain extent. Like, don't go by and 10 times over the recommended rate, but toss that stuff down, guys. Like, that is gonna grow. It's gonna give you a thick, lush green carpet of food. That is a hell of a backup plan if we don't get the rain, which I think is unlikely this year, depending where you're at in the country. And I will also use three-way grains up and down my rows of beans. You know, let's say you have soybeans planted, or you're leasing a field from the farmer, and you say, hey man, do you mind if I go just cover crop it for you, just an acre or two, so that when they take those beans off, now you have three-way grains under there, and it works super well, grows super well. And even the Bombshell, to a certain extent, like if it's gonna get a little bit of sunlight up and down those rows, like if you're on a lease, it's not a bad little tip either. So for those of you that are planting food plots on your own properties, or leasing some ground, or have a farmer next door who lets you hunt and he's okay with you tossing in a little cover crop, one, I'd either throw down Bombshell, or two, I'd be throwing down the three-way grains, guys. If you try them, check them out. Do any of that good stuff, drop it in the comments, let us know, and I bet you have some success.